Wednesday, partly cloudy, still dry, pleasant highs upper 60s with scattered showers and storms rolling in later Thursday. Warmer days are ahead, and Glass Farm Nursery is now open with a huge selection of Kimberly Queen sun ferns, only $12.99, along with a large assortment of tropicals. Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to the Sabrena Realty Hour on 1240 AM Hot News Talk Radio, where we talk all things real estate and community. Every week we talk about how there's never been a better time to buy or sell a home. Tell us why, Mark.
Well, one, inventory is down. And so what that means for a seller is there's less competition,
right?
Which is going to mean a better price for that seller.
Overall higher sales price, yep, for sure.
And that doesn't hurt the buyer, though, because interest rates are still ridiculously low, somewhere in the mid 3%.
Unbelievable. And there are so many loans to choose from out there with little or zero down payment. It's unbelievable. So for anyone thinking about buying a home or selling a home, please do call Sabrena Realty, 423-499-7780. As I said, we talk all things community, and coming up this weekend, we are about to celebrate just a magnificent event that happened years ago. Jesus Christ gave his life. He was buried, and he arose after the third day. And that, folks, is what that's our promise for eternal life one day when he does return. With that being said, even though I'm a Southern Baptist, I don't discriminate against other religions. So we have two special guests here with us this morning. We have Katie Jacobs and Josh Machowski, both from the Collegedale Church of Seventh-day Adventist in Collegedale, which is actually part of my district that I represent on the county commission. That's part right. Of District 7. And I'm so thrilled to have you guys here because I know you guys are planning a big weekend. You have a sunrise pageant. And I wanted to have you guys on this morning just to kind of tell everybody what it is that you're doing there at Collegedale Seventh-day Adventist Church, kind of about this pageant, because a lot of people don't know about it. I know that I had never heard of it until we had the pleasure of attending last year. And might I say, what a phenomenal production it was.
I grew up in Appleton my entire life and did not even know about it until last year when we were able to go.
So, yeah. So with that being said, kind of tell us what this production is. Kind of give us a little history, maybe when it started. I don't know if this is your 6th, 7th, 8th year. Kind of just tell us that and sort of what it entails.
Okay. Go ahead. All right. Well, thank you, Sabrena, so much for having us today.
My pleasure.
We're so glad to be here to talk about this production because it means so much to us. Mm-hmm. And the Sunrise production, for those of you that have not ever had a chance to go, it is a walkthrough of the last week of Jesus's life. It takes place on the campus of Southern Adventist University, mm-hmm. and it is a very interactive program. So we have a very large cast. We have close to 600 costumed individuals.
Oh my goodness.
Who help make these scenes come to life. And we do 13 shows throughout the day.
Wow.
So it's quite an amazing production. Last year, we were blessed enough to have over 10,000 people come through in one day.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So it's really grown. We started this 21 years ago in April of 1996. A senior at Southern Adventist University, her name was Heather Hilliard. She's actually my cousin. Yeah. So Sunrise is a family event.
Wow.
And she really had a burden to tell the story. And since then it has grown, and now it's been taken on by the Collegedale Church of Seventh-day Adventists.
Well, I've seen a lot of productions in my life centered around the life of Christ. And this, I know last year when we attended, it's probably the most real, most serene production I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. It really is almost real. I mean,
yes.
So I know there's a lot of time invested in putting this event on. How soon in the year do you guys start planning, preparing, and practicing for
goodness.
it?
Well, we really start talking about it almost when we finish the previous years. Is really when the planning starts. We kind of get started with the directors in October and November. And then depending on when Easter falls during the year is when we get started with the practicing. So this year, it's the second earliest Easter we've ever had in the last 20 years. So we really started practicing in January and started going with this.
Now, you said there's 13 shows.
Yes.
And you begin on Saturday, correct?
Right. We do. We started on Saturday at 8:30 in the morning, and we go every 30 minutes. The entire production takes about 2 hours to walk through the entire thing. So we have people starting every 30 minutes. And so we have many people who are acting in one scene, and they stay at that scene and do that scene over and over 13 times throughout the day. And then we have a core cast that moves through the production with the particular group. And so those are kind of your main characters, like Jesus, obviously, and the disciples and Mary Magdalene that go through the whole time. So we have quite an invested cast.
Right. Well, kind of walk us through the entire production. Just kind of like if from start to finish, what someone would be able to experience that day. Yes.
Okay. Well, we start off in the actual church sanctuary at the Collegedale Church, and we experience current day events. So a program is put on to kind of help us remember what has happened in the past year in our world. And to remind us that God is always moving through those scenes, whether we see that or not.
There will be a lot.
Yes, there will
to
be
reflect back on in that for sure.
Of this year. And then Mary Magdalene is the character that the crowd identifies with that really introduces the program, and they follow her through the scenes. So she invites them to follow her, and they begin out in the Jerusalem marketplace, which is an extensive on the promenade. It's a long kind of row of booths and animals and shopkeepers and different people.
You have real life animals there, right?
We have live animals, lots and lots of animals.
It's like a real market.
It is a real marketplace. So that's wonderful for our children that get to come through and get to interact with that. And that's when the program starts off with Jesus's triumphal entry, triumphantly entering Jerusalem on a donkey with his disciples, and begins that process. We then move from the triumphal entry into the Last Supper with the disciples. So that's one of the first main scenes. From the Last Supper, we move to the Garden of Gethsemane. And from that scene on to Pilate's Judgment Hall, and then crucifixion, which takes place out on a hill on the campus of Southern Adventist University. The crowd walks the Via Dolorosa with Jesus as he carries his cross and is then crucified. We then move into our gymnasium where we get to see the burial and then resurrection of Jesus. And that last scene is very special to me. That's actually the scene that I get to direct, is the resurrection scene. And
it's very
wonderful.
real.
It's very, very real. I have an amazing cast and crew that puts that on every year. And I cry all 13 times in the sound booth when Jesus is resurrected and then goes to heaven. It's amazing.
Now, from start to finish, how long does it take to go through the production?
Probably about 2 hours. Yeah, about 2 hours from start to finish. It's light walking. It's nothing strenuous. It's wheelchair accessible. And so I would recommend, if people come through it, probably want to bring some water with you.
Right.
Some sunscreen. It looks like hopefully the weather's going to be really nice on Saturday. So
it looks like God's going to shine on it for you. Now, you said you have 13 shows. Are you starting those every 30 minutes?
Every 30 minutes, yes.
Okay. Well, and I know that Josh, last year, you played Jesus.
Right.
And let me just tell you, you did such a great job. It was outstanding.
It was.
You were very, you could tell very much into the character, very sincere. Kind of tell us what that was like, and did it put the entire crucifixion and resurrection in a different light for you as an individual playing the part of Jesus?
Sure. I mean, I'm not a trained actor. And so, approaching this was definitely a very intimidating endeavor. It was just kind of one of those things where I felt a burden on my heart, like I was being called to do this, and I didn't really understand why at the time. And going through the preparation and going through these different scenes, there's, of course, a lot of things that are going to become real that you didn't experience before. And I almost hesitate to say that without being cliche, but it is true. And so there's so many parts that I don't want to be arrogant in or naive and trying to pretend that I'm going to somehow understand some of the components of divinity that Christ was experiencing during those parts. But there's so many elements of humanity that you just sometimes don't realize until you're actually there. And just I can give you some examples of some of those things in preparation. And so, those of us that have been raised as Christians, we have, we're familiar with the gospel accounts. And, as I'm preparing for this role, I actually had a chronological Bible where it kind of puts the different pieces together. So you have, the different passages are kind of stacked on top of each other. So you can read a passage from, all the gospels that discuss that particular point in time. And so, most of us are familiar with the events. And we're also familiar with that, when Christ is delivering some of these last messages to people and his disciples, that he's not just talking to them, but he's talking to us, in our day and age. But sometimes we forget that he was still talking to those people there right next to him. Because we have only been interpreting it, these timeless passages, 2,000 years that are still relevant. But when you're actually playing the role as an actor, you're not just talking about something that's going to impact the lives of people, 2,000 years from now. You're actually talking to the people that are sitting right next to you. You're actually talking about giving your life for the person that's staring at you, blank in the face, that just doesn't understand what it is that you're talking about. And so those moments of realization, and my wife and I do not have kids, but we work with kids. And so those of you that are parents are going to understand this better than I do, I'm sure. But that when you're working with kids and you're trying to prepare them for things that that they're going to deal with in life, and there's only so much that you can give them. Okay, you try your best to try to give them as much information as you can, but there's just only so much that you can give them. And that's, this realization as I was preparing for, the Last Supper and these different interactions with your disciples at the very end. It's like, they don't get it. And so, here you are as almost like this parent mentor, trying, so desperately to communicate these things to them. And that they're not getting it. And so hopefully, you can use symbols, or you can use, different things that they're going to be able to remember later on that they can then reflect on. But what's interesting is, as you're going through these scenes, there's so many, again, these pieces of humanity that are just so real and so painful. At Pilate's judgment, we have a very interactive, highly explosive mob that you've experienced. It's almost overwhelming.
Yes, it is.
All around you that are screaming and shouting, and, and it's just it seems like complete chaos. And so, in playing the role of Christ in that, it's just this sudden, brutal rejection that feels so real, especially since not that long before you were just being praised, like coming in on the triumphal entry. And and you go from this almost this high to this just absolutely pulverizing rejection. And that doesn't even take into account what could have been happening in the spiritual realm of things. That's just the human interaction, and very, very real. But yet in all of those times, as you're experiencing some of those elements, you read in the Gospels how Christ actually doesn't say that much. Like he's quiet a lot, but then every once in a while he very intentionally engages with people. And so as I was preparing for this, I was like, why did he engage with the priests at this time? Why does he engage with Pilate at this time? And there's just these different parts, and I started to realize, how intense the concentration that I had to have as an actor.
I can imagine.
Can you imagine how much more intense it could have been for Christ and the mental focus and his mission and retaining the faith and everything else that's going through, and so. He's only engaging with people absolutely when this is important. This is necessary. I need to speak this truth at this point in time because this is important. And it's just incredible. Even on the cross, he's still he still pulls away from whatever he's dealing with and engages with the thief on the cross and gives him hope. It's just incredible. He's still one of the hardest pieces that was difficult for me to realize is that you're having to ask someone else to care for your mother.
Right.
How painful is that?
Yeah.
Just the human side of things.
Well, that's why this production seems so real.
Yeah.
To go and just be a spectator and to walk through and observe. I mean, it seems so real because you can tell that all of the actors are really putting themselves into the part, and you're getting on a perspective that we every day don't get on. When we see the cross, we see the cross. We don't really think about what that means, and shame on us. I mean, shame on us.
Something that really impacted me was, it's so different walking through this area to each different scene, as opposed to sitting in an auditorium, the lights go down.
Exactly.
And you sit for 2 hours watching a movie or a production on stage. You're actually there. And when you were talking about the hostile crowd, I mean, we were there, and I know, hey, this is a play, but those people were irate. And there were a few that you just for a second had to think, is this part of the play? Because it was so real. And you felt like you were there. And
as a spectator, you can feel your heart beating faster. You can feel the tears coming to you. I mean, it is so real. And it's because you guys do put this production in such a real light. And it's such a perspective that we don't think about every day. Like we said, we went this week and we saw 2 movies. Saw both of them. One was Risen, the movie that's out now. And it's kind of a neat way that they did the movie, because they do it through the eyes of a Roman soldier and what it was like for someone who did not believe this was the true Messiah, and they witnessed the entire crucifixion, and then all the way through Christ, being resurrected and ascending into heaven. And you just don't think about it in those terms. And we need to. That's why it's good to go to a production like this or go see a movie and really think about what it was truly like. Because it's hard. We'll never know what it was truly like. We can only try to get close. And another movie we saw this past week was The Young Messiah. And it's a good movie because, we think about Jesus, or I personally think about Jesus when he was in his early 30s, and think about, the miracle worker. And you don't think about Jesus as a young boy. I mean, we hear the story of when he was 12 years old and he was in the temple, and Mary and Joseph left him behind in the temple and didn't realize he was that he was with them. But this movie takes it from Jesus at the age of 6 to 7 years old, and we don't think about Jesus in those terms. And I just tell you that this production is phenomenal. It truly is. And boy, what a way to celebrate Easter. And Josh, your wife is also in the production, right?
Yes. So. She's been a volunteer with the production for many years. This year and last year, she's going to be playing Gabriel in the Garden of Gethsemane, which is a very neat piece where you get to kind of see this spiritual warfare taking place behind the scenes, but yet you get to see it, and where she's strengthening and encouraging Christ before those last minutes. And so if you do go through that, that's my wife.
Yeah, she's good. Well, both of you guys, everybody. I mean, I can't just single them. I'm partial to them because they're friends, but everyone does a phenomenal job. And how many actors and actresses are there total? Because you said 13 shows. We're doing a show every 30 minutes. And so how many total actors and actresses? And I'm kind of curious how those are selected or chosen.
Well, we, as far as there's many different roles in Sunrise, and what you talked about with the interaction factor, what sets this production apart is that you are moving through a 2-hour production and you are interacting with actors next to you. They're going to come up and talk to you. They're going to come up and interact with you in character. And that takes close to 600 people to pull all of that off in costume.
Wow.
So that's how many costumes we have. Really, it's about 600. And as far as the main cast, Josh is part of what we call the Big Five. And the Big Five is the characters of Jesus, John, Peter, Mary Magdalene, and then another follower of Jesus, Salome.
Yeah.
And those 5 are the ones that go through the entire show with the production. So those are characters that we audition. We hold auditions. And the majority of our cast, as far as our speaking roles, are made up of Southern Adventist University college students.
Okay.
So
That's what I figured.
Yes, they come and audition. And many of them have not acted before. Many of them
you can't tell it.
No, they amaze me every year. As a director, I am always it blows my mind how wonderful the people we have get into these roles. They research them, they take them very seriously, and they really have a passion for it.
Yeah, and that shows throughout the entire production. And I'm kind of curious, Josh, you playing the role of Jesus, that's a big role, and it's a 2-hour production. How hard was it for you to memorize all your lines? I'm just kind of curious. I know you're a smart guy, but that is a lot to remember.
You know, I don't know. Actually, it's probably not as much as what you might think that it is.
Yeah.
I thought that it was more before I actually started preparing for it. I tell you that the actual time in the line preparation is really nothing compared to the everything else that's involved with portraying that scene. And so I don't remember how much time that I really did spend preparing. This year, of course, less than last year. It doesn't stand out to me as being the much more difficult parts, or trying to figure out, mentally what should be happening at this part and of this scene, and how should I be responding at this point in the scene through body language and voice inflection. Yeah, so much physical. I mean, and one of the things that I should share with you too is, our groups that do go through. So I'll only do 2 shows that particular day. And that's the case with most of those actors. They only do 2 shows. And, when I was going through this last year, I completely underestimated how much more difficult the second show would be than the first.
Wow.
Because, you go through this incredibly emotionally, high and low.
I would
and
think
high,
it's draining.
Oh,
yes,
and
absolutely.
physically, and you're actually really carrying a heavy cross.
Yeah.
There's so many things that are actually physically.
And you're
and
actually on that cross.
Yes,
like a true crucifixion.
Yes, it goes in the ground and thuds, and it's not comfortable. And actually, I got injured last year. There was this,
and you ascend up in the air and all. It's
right
unbelievable.
And so, so you go through this great thing over 2 hours, and okay, now I've got about 30 minutes before I have to do this all over again. Can I do this to the same extent that I just did?
Right. Well,
and it's difficult.
And you've grown your hair out.
Yeah.
You've got the full beard.
Yeah.
You really look the part. It's really amazing. And I just commend you all on how much you put in this. Now, we've got some tickets. We've got just a few tickets, because I understand you guys gave out thousands this past week.
Yeah, we gave out 7,000 free tickets, and they were gone in an hour and 15 minutes at the Hamilton Place Mall. It was unbelievable.
Well, we've got about 15 tickets with different start times for the production, and for anyone that is interested in going. And let me tell you, this is a tremendous way to celebrate Easter. It just puts the crucifixion, the resurrection into a real light. It really does. And for anyone that's interested in tickets, we have those available. You can call Sabrena Realty at 423-499-7780. That's 499-7780. To get a ticket, we do only have about 15 left. But if you will call, our assistant's waiting, and she'll be glad to write down your name and number, and we'll get those tickets to you. Just remember what this weekend means when it comes up. Let's just remember and just honor Christ this entire weekend.
Yeah, the Easter is a whole lot more than the Easter bunny and the candy. And
the Easter egg hunt.
That's right. It it's the time for family, but it is all about Christ and what he did, and the promise that we have for what he did for us on the cross.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. Thank you, Josh and Katie, for being here with us today and for sharing this. I know that there's a lot that goes into it, and I just thank you.
Yeah, thank you both for coming in.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
All right, listeners, hang around. We'll be back here in just a few minutes for the second half of our show.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go. Our house in the middle of our street.
Hi, I'm Sabrena with Sabrena Realty Associates. Now is a great time to sell your home. In our area, inventory is at an all-time low, which translates into higher sales prices. Call us today at 423-499-7780 to set up a free consultation and discuss our unique and aggressive marketing programs. We will provide you with a free market analysis to determine the right value of your home. Call us today at 423-499-7780 or visit our website at SabrenaRealty.com.
Our house in the middle of our street. Our house.
We're going to kill them all. We're going to kill them all. Let them cough. Let them wheeze. Let them sneeze. We're going to kill every one of them.
We're going to stop you dead in your tracks. Black mold has been known to mimic ailments such as asthma, emphysema, and other ailments that affect the well-being of your body. Black mold is the silent killer. Fight back today with a free estimate from PuroClean. The paramedics of property damage is PuroClean. Call 875-6136 for your free inspection and estimate today. And no, bleach does not kill mold. In fact, bleach is primarily made up of water and adds more moisture to your mold. The mold experts at PuroClean use proven products and state-of-the-art science equipment. They'll remove all traces of that deadly killer black mold. Call PuroClean now at 875-6136. Plus, your homeowner's insurance may cover it. Call PuroClean today at 875-6136.
We're going to kill every one of them.
Not if PuroClean has anything to do with it. Call PuroClean today at 875-6136.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. The demographics of some Hamilton County schools could be changing next year. School leaders are wanting to rezone 42 children from DuPont Elementary and move them over to Alpine Crest Elementary. The reason is DuPont is over capacity by about 50 students, while Alpine is under capacity. Ben Coulter is the Hamilton County school demographer, and he believes that the move will be helping both schools. In Bradley County, the sheriff's office held a 2-day roundup of individuals who had outstanding arrest warrants. Sheriff Watson says that the 33 people were made up of sex offenders, those owing child support, and those who are facing other misdemeanor and felony charges. The sheriff said that the department warrant team and the Bradley County constables were working together to make this roundup a success. He said that they planned the roundup with the help of other judicial officers. The Carrabba's Italian Grill on Hamilton Place Boulevard caught on fire yesterday. 6 fire companies responded and managed to put out the blaze just in time. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Warming up out there through the afternoon with lots of sunshine. Afternoon highs into the mid and upper 60s tonight. Fair, not as cold, lows 42 to 45. For Wednesday, partly cloudy, still dry, pleasant highs upper 60s with scattered showers and storms rolling in later Thursday. Warmer days are ahead, and Glass Farm Nursery is now open with a huge selection of Kimberly Queen sun ferns, only $12.99, along with a large assortment of tropicals. Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go.
Welcome back to the Sabrena Realty Hour here on 1240 AM Hot News Talk Radio, where we talk all things community and real estate. Does not matter if it's pertaining to the community or real estate, we'll talk about it. We keep saying, Mark, there's been a never a better time to buy or sell a home.
It's unbelievable.
Why should they call Sabrena Realty?
Well, they should call Sabrena Realty, one, because of you, your expertise, your knowledge, your time in the industry. You've lived your whole life here in the Chattanooga area. You know this market. You've got fantastic relationships with so many different people. And, you know, I was thinking earlier, once you get an offer on a home, that's really when the work begins.
The beginning.
And there's so many things that most people don't even realize that have to happen to get to the closing table successfully. And you've got that knowledge and that skill. You know, of course, you were Realtor of the Year a couple of years ago, and I enjoy still letting everybody know that, because that's not just a panel of 5 people picked you. You were selected by, I think, over 1,400 realtors at the time. And
I have a good team that works with me at Sabrena Realty, and I want to tell you just 6 reasons why you should never buy or sell without an agent. Number 1, if you're a seller, it is proven statistically that realtors get you 13% more sales price than if you try to sell it for sale by owner. Absolutely. That more than covers the commission. It's proven. I mean, we don't make these numbers up. We can show this statistically that a realtor will get you a 13% higher sales price when you list with them. And that's because we have loads of expertise. We have turbocharged searching power. We have all the websites available at our fingertips, whether we're trying to do a market analysis, whatever it is, we have all that available. We have negotiating skills that a regular homeowner just doesn't have.
No.
I mean, and it takes negotiating skills. It really does, because you've got to take that buyer and that seller, set them down at the table, and they both have to feel like they're coming out a winner. We're also connected to everyone. We have home inspectors. We have termite inspectors. We have, contractors.
Attorneys, if you need them.
Attorneys. We have it all. Title companies. We also adhere to a strict code of ethics, which means we're going to handle everything at a very high level of professionalism, with ethics, looking out for our clients' interests, not our own. We're also going to put on whatever role we have to. We'll put on the hat. We'll be your parent, your data analyst, your therapist. Isn't that right? I mean, whatever we've got to be, we'll be. Hats. And we have in the studio today one of our top agents at Sabrena Realty. We have Harry Rogers with us. Thanks for coming by, Harry, and seeing us. Now, you can't stay long. You got to get out and make a sale today.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Thank
so
you,
you're going to talk about our featured listing of the week. So tell us about the featured listing of the week at Sabrena Realty, Harry.
Our feature of the week is 9940 Frost Ridge Drive. That's in Ooltewah, one of the best areas you can buy right now. It's going to hold this price as well. We have 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, 1 half bath. This home has 5,188 square feet.
Wow. That's a big house.
Best part of this is the price, $459,000.
That is unbelievable.
This
Harry.
is in Ooltewah. It has fireplace. Give us a call. We'd love to show it to you, set up a showing, and we'd love to take you out, show you the house. I think you would give us an opportunity to love your home. You'd love it.
Well, Harry, how can they reach you? For anybody listening that may be looking for an agent to list with or someone to help them find a home, how can they get in touch with you?
Our office number is 499-7780. My cell number is 423-580-3622, or you can get us at harry@sabrenarealty.com, or you can just send sabrenarealty.com. Email. We'll be glad to get in touch with you.
Harry works hard for his clients, doesn't he, Mark?
Yes,
he works very, very hard. Thank you for stopping by, Harry, because I know you're on your way to make a deal today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And again, give us Sabrena Realty a call. We promise you one thing. We work hard for you. We won't let you down.
That's true. Thank you, Harry. And speaking of our next guest, we have with us in the studio is Bobby Templeton. He is the owner of Beaumont Pest Control. Now, part of going through the transaction is getting those home inspections and those termite inspections for the buyer. How important is it, Bobby, for a buyer to get a termite inspection?
It's very important to get a home inspection with termites because for what money you're paying for a home is a big investment.
Right.
So for such a small amount of money, you get someone that can crawl through the crawl areas, look any crack and crevice, and make sure you don't have any issues with termites or anything that's eating the house down.
Right.
That we can take care of. So it's very important.
Now, how much is a termite inspection? Is this affordable?
It is. It's $45.
Wow. I
And
think you got the best rate going in town,
Yes.
honestly.
And that includes the inspection and you report that you need for your closing table.
Right.
And we're there for the buyer. So we're make sure that we do the best job. Of quality is the issue.
Now, in Tennessee, the contract calls for the buyer to pay for that termite inspection, and it's very affordable. You just said $45. I mean, how can you not afford to pay that? Because it's such an important part of the process. However, the contract says if there's active infestation, that the seller has to pay for the treatment. So typically, what does a treatment cost if you were to find termites?
It can range at the size of the home and the amount of work involved. It can range from $400 to even $1,200. Some homes big, like Harry was saying before, a 4,100 square foot home is a huge home.
Right.
So it takes a lot of work to make sure that we do a quality job on that home to protect the buyers.
Absolutely.
And it comes with a warranty as well.
Absolutely.
Behind everything we do.
Now, how long does a typical termite inspection take? If you go out to a home, let's say a home that's 2,500 square feet, how long are you usually there?
It can take a close to an hour.
Okay. So you're there a little while.
Yes.
And I guess your inspection's different if it's a basement versus a crawl space.
That's correct. The basement's a little easier to get around in and you can see easier and doesn't take as long. Crawl space, you have a lot of crawling involved.
Right.
So we crawl every inch of the crawl space, look at steel plates and floor joists, behind insulation, garages, exterior.
Right.
Very important to cover the whole area.
Now, you're a certified termite inspector, correct? Kind of
correct.
explain what you have to do to get certified and why is it important to use a certified termite inspected versus somebody that may not be? Because I know that we had a little issue a couple years ago. Where there was a company that was doing termite inspections, and we found out later they weren't certified. Thank God Sabrena Realty had not used them because, as you know, Bobby, I'm usually sending my clients to Beaumont.
Right.
So, I mean, kind of talk about why that's important. And I don't know, are you, I guess, licensed, bonded, and all that good stuff, and insured? Kind of talk about why that's important and why a consumer really needs to make sure if they hire a termite inspector that they are licensed and bonded and insured.
Well, first of all, the state requires you to be licensed and bonded and insured to do this. So training, knowing what you're looking for to do a quality job. So I've spent years of training and then go through my testing, just like a realtor does, and you get certifications, and we keep hours up. So we have continuing education.
Wow.
So we can stay up on top of what's going on with the pest control and the termite industry today, so that our guys have to pass the test as well to work out here to do this. So they have to learn the knowledge as well to know what they're looking for. Somebody untrained is not going to have the experience to know exactly what they're looking for or be able to do the quality work that you need for a home that people will trust you with. That telling the truth and being honest and doing a great job is very important.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, is there a time of year that you find termites to be more common, or, is there a termite season, so to speak?
That is correct. It is called swarm season, and it is beginning right now. It is starting up as soon as the weather starts to warm up in spring. You see these flying things in your home, looks like ants with wings, and they wind up on your floor. Coming out of the wall.
Wow.
And people think there's something else like mosquitoes or ants.
Yeah.
But that means you may have a severe infestation or even damage to your home.
Yeah.
So it's important to get your home looked at least once a year or every other year. Even if you're not buying a home, you should have it looked at.
So I know that there are contracts available so a homeowner could call you and purchase a contract. Tell us what the cost of having a contract is and what all that entails if you buy a contract, what they're getting for their money.
A preventative treatment would be we come out and do a conventional treatment. That's where we drill the blocks in the crawl space, trench around the home, and drill the slabs. Mm-hmm. And we put chemical in that liquid and then patch all the holes back so it has a complete barrier that goes around this home that keeps it termite free. Termites cannot get through that in the soil because termites come from beneath. That's what I call subterranean.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you, what's the number one cause of termites? Is there something that someone can avoid doing that maybe would reduce the risk of getting termites? Or is there something that they're doing that welcomes termites? And I'll give you an example. I've heard, don't use wood mulch. I mean, is that true? Is there any truth to that at all?
Not really. There's homes that's had termites.
Yeah.
Homes that's going to get termites.
Right.
And homes that have termites that stay and people don't know. Wood stored next to the home or in a crawl space.
Is that an invitation?
That is correct. And water. Water's your number one because they need water to survive. If your gutters are not draining properly and the water's running under your home, you don't have a vapor barrier. There's lots of reasons moisture gets in the wood and it invites termites to infest in that wood.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's not a fear people don't really need to stay away from the pine bark nuggets and the mulch. And, because some flower beds have the rocks or the rubber mulch is coming out and even pine straw. But I think a lot of people try to stay away from the traditional mulch, but you're saying that doesn't necessarily attract them, or in some of the mulch, is it treated?
Some mulch, like eucalyptus, is a pest-free mulch, but people add mulch every year to add to the looks, and over time it can build up. And when it gets so much, it packs in and becomes cellulose, and that's what termites go after, like a wood cellulose debris. And with the moisture in that, you can get them that way.
Okay.
So that's why you should have it inspected often, and we look inside and exterior. So you'd see signs of shelter tubes, evidence, flying termites.
Let me ask you this. As far as decks, a deck on the exterior home, that should be made out of pressure treated wood. Do termites eat on pressure treated wood or not really?
90% of the time they do not. It's a pressure treated wood. Over time, that wood can break down and they may wind up in the middle of that 4x4 post. A lot of people are going to insulating them posts by putting them on brick, and that secures it away from
keeps it off the ground.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And most of them is like a 4.1 pressure treat. That's what they call it, into the wood. It's like a cyanide based stuff.
And so that doesn't taste good to them. So usually they won't get on that.
That is correct. They do not like pressure treat. Most homes are built with pressure treat around the sill plates and the decks.
Okay.
For that reason.
What's the most common place that you detect termites usually?
Your garage, a slab, is a conducive condition because it holds moisture underneath, and they'll come out from the slab. So garages are a very high place for you to find termites.
Now, from the time a home gets infested with termites, how long typically does it take before those termites cause damage?
They can cause damage within the first year. They can move like a foot a year in each direction. And when they swarm, they're trying to create more colonies, so they can expand pretty fast.
Wow.
So within a 5-year period, they can do quite a bit of damage to a wall. I've seen them to the ceiling in 5 years going through the roof.
Now, how common is it that maybe you detect termites and let's just say you treat or whatever and there's damage behind the wall that nobody is aware of? Does that happen pretty frequently or is that uncommon?
If you're seeing swarmers or things flying around your home and there's possibility of damage, or you see some damage in a crawl space of the floor joist, chances are there is hidden damage.
Right.
You can't tell the severity of it without removing the wall, but chances are there's some sort of damage
Now, if there's that kind of damage, what are you doing when you go in and you find that? Are you telling that homeowner, wow, you need to get a contractor out here? I mean, what are you advising them to do when that happens?
Absolutely. Always note that there's damage, possible hidden damage. So it should be further investigated by a professional contractor that knows buildings and structural damage if needed.
Right. Now, when you treat a home, I would assume that there's some kind of warranty that comes with that treatment. Is that correct?
Yes, it comes with a warranty for 1 year. And then there's a small fee. We come and do a complete inspection and make sure there's no other infestations show up, retreat if necessary, any areas of any time, and it renews it for another year.
Oh, wow.
And then if you sell that home while it's under my warranty, that warranty transfers to the new buyer.
That's good to know.
Without any extra fees.
Yeah, that's good to know.
You know, you mentioned at the beginning of the show, $45 was that initial inspection. $45 doesn't buy very much wood to start repairing the home.
No.
So it's such a small investment to really stay on top of what's going on. And you mentioned it's not just something you do every 6 or 8, 10 years. It really should be followed up each year just to make sure that no new termites have shown up and are starting to damage the home.
Right. We'll even offer you call us in and haven't had an inspection in a while and you'd like to have your home looked at. I'll come and just take a look without a letter or report, just a look, and I won't charge you anything.
Wow, that's good. How long have you been doing this, Bobby? You've been doing it a long time, haven't you?
For 16 years, about 11 of it in my own business. Me and my wife, it's a family-run business.
Yeah.
And I've worked for the major companies and learned through them and small companies. And I was a manager for a while, and then I went my own way, and I've been blessed with the business. And
yeah.
That's from doing good, and I care about the public. I care about what I do.
It means a lot. And I think there's a special touch when a consumer deals with a small business, especially a family-owned small business. I'm prejudiced to that type of business. I know what it's like to start it from the ground up and to stick with it. And it's just you and your family. Yeah, exactly. Because we've done the same thing at our real estate company. But, you know, we've made it a point that it's a relationship business for us, and you probably feel this way as well. We want to treat everyone like family.
That is correct.
We want them to keep coming back.
Quality is important.
And it's a long-time relationship.
Yes.
We want them to always come back and send their brother, their cousin, their mother, their father, whoever, their friends. And I'm sure you're the same way.
That's correct.
Now, I'm curious, are there other types of bugs? I'm sure there are, and insects that you find during different periods of the year. Take a little while and talk about different seasons, the different types of bugs that or insects that you find, and what preventative measures are for those types. Because I've heard post beetles or whatever. I've heard of those too. Is that something you deal with?
Yes, it's called a WDI, a wood destroying insect report. So there's like 5 on the list, including powder post beetles.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to think of.
Carpenter bees, carpenter ants. You know, you want to look for other things as well that's going on, because carpenter bees this time of year in the spring and in the fall, they'll bore holes in your exterior wood of your home, and they can do damage just as bad.
Now, is that, I mean, they do damage quick, right? I have seen some homes that almost look demolished.
That's correct. And they don't care if it's pressure treated or if it's not. If it's raw wood, they're gonna bore holes in it, and sometimes a lot. And that's some damage you have to watch for, because it's you know, visual damage that you can see.
How do you treat for that?
You want to treat a liquid inside of the hole and putty it up. It keeps it from reinfesting, because that bee never comes back out of the hole. And paint and stain on certain, like log cabins, is a deterrent to them. So if you paint, they don't like paint or stain. So you can keep them away from your home.
Is there a certain type of material that those are prone to be attracted to of an exterior of a home? I mean, what kind of home are you commonly finding those? Because, I mean, those are destructive.
They like the fascia and the soffit of an untreated wood area with not been painted in a while.
Mm-hmm.
New decks, when you put the wood up, they'll go after that. Mostly that's what they're after.
Mm-hmm.
And a good way to cover them is vinyl siding because they can't get into it. So a lot of people are going to that on their face and soffit. Exclusion.
Yeah. Well, I don't like those at all.
No,
My goodness.
Powder post beetles is something that's not very talked about very often.
Mm-hmm.
Something that gets into your crawl space, and they make little BB holes.
Yes.
And the larva actually eats the wood, and they push all the sawdust out, and that can weaken the structure of your home.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't realize that powder post beetles is just as bad as termites.
Yeah.
And a vapor barrier underneath, keep the moisture out of that wood, is a good preventative measure to keep those out of your home.
It sounds like moisture is the significant cause for all of these types of insects, whether it be termites, powder post beetles.
Water is your worst enemy on anything with a home, from water damage to mold to fungi to moisture in the wood. Once you get to 28% in the wood, all the insects want to eat that wood.
Now, speaking of fungi, that is something else that your company treats for?
That is correct.
Is that correct? Well, how do you detect that?
Well, you can see the discoloration of the wood, and 90% of the time there's no vapor barrier been on that home in years or ever. And all the moisture from the ground and the gutter problems or plumbing leaks, the moisture gets in the wood, it turns it colors white, green, brown, and that can weaken the wood in what turns into brown rot, which will also damage your floors and have to be replaced.
Well, Bobby, we know that you're an expert in your field and you are good at what you do. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that people really need to consider this, because if it's out of sight, it's usually out of your mind.
Correct.
And I've been in some crawl spaces that I hope I never get in again, where you go in on your stomach or you go in on your back, but you can't roll over. So most homeowners, if they even knew what to look for, they really don't want to go in there. So they need to call you. And how do they get in touch with you?
Well, you can find me on the website, the Better Business Bureau. You can call me in my office at 706-764-0036. Or you can call me on 423-280-2863 and look me up on the website or the Better Business Bureau. I recommend that.
And what is your website?
It's BeaumontPC.com.
Okay, Beaumont PC Pest.
Yeah, BeaumontPestControl.com.
Okay.
And how can you afford not to do it? I would have Bobby, if you suspect you have any kind of insect, I would call Bobby, have him come out, do an inspection. It's very affordable. Even purchase a contract to prevent any problems in the future. And again, for anyone thinking about buying a home or selling a home, Sabrena Realty Associates would love the opportunity to do business with you. You can reach us at 423-499-7780. That's 499-7780, or visit our website, SabrenaRealty.com. We want to wish everyone a very happy Easter. I hope that you'll get to celebrate the meaning of this weekend with your family and really just reflect on Christ and all he's done for us.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting on